hand grenade right into their little dugout area there. Perfect placement.
Crawford's grenade was right on the mark. The blast destroyed the enemy gun and the entire crew.
2 more machine gun missed. Started firing at them.
Amidst the chaos, Crawford made his next move, taking aim with his M1 rifle. And in an instant destroyed the second nest of machine gunners, only a few yards away.
And then I fired my rifle at the bottom, one right by me, because I couldn't throw a hand grenade there.
Fully exposed to the enemy and operating on sheer instinct and adrenaline, Crawford targeted the third and final nest with a barrage of grenades.
Then I threw another hand grenade over there where I thought some Germans was, and 2 or 3 more jumped up, ran into a nearby forest. This allowed the company to move on.
With nearly all of the hostile forces dead and the last of the Germans scurrying into the forest, Crawford dove into one of the destroyed nests, seized the enemy weapon, and fired at the fleeing Nazis. In a truly heroic effort, making life and death split-second decisions, Private Crawford single-handedly destroyed all 3 German emplacements. His actions facilitated the advance and ensured the safety of his company. Even though he had neutralized the machine gun positions, Crawford had more work to do. He went to the aid of a wounded soldier. By this time, the enemy had reinforced and launched a furious counterattack.
I was going to fall in behind them, and I saw one of my buddies and the squad leader laying behind a big pine tree pretty close to this little ditch that I'd occupied, and a machine gun was peppering that tree real hard from the area where we'd taken those prisoners. One of the guys had been shot right through the stomach and just missed his vertebrae in his back. We had sulfa powder in our little first aid kits, doused that on his wounds. He was blood from his waist on down. Trying to get him stop bleeding, I put a bandage on him and everything. And we heard a bunch of German talk coming from that area. Crawled down the ditch, and sure enough, here come a whole company of Germans spread out, coming up that area. One with a machine gun, they could pick up their machine guns, they had bipods on them. And he was looking down at my gas mask, studying my equipment, and he was only 30 yards at the most, and I thought, boy, here's another machine gunner, I'm going to get him. And I had his head in my sight and couldn't have missed, but something just wouldn't let me pull the trigger. Something just said, don't do it, don't do it. And I didn't pull the trigger. All of them went by us, but that guy with that machine gun, he was scanning the ditch real close and saw my tracks in there, crawling around in there. So he's looked, there he saw us. He said, Hans up, and they all come storming around us with their rifles, snorting and hollering.
Back home, Crawford's family was informed he was missing in action.
Many thought that he had died, so his father ended up receiving it posthumously. We'll come to find out he was alive and well in a POW camp.
I was listed missing. They sent the medal to my father at Camp Carson. We finally got word that I was a prisoner after they had already awarded the medal to my father. They had a well-camouflaged cave, and they had a hospital, field hospital, the Germans. And we brought our guys in, and they treated our fellows the same as our own. And then during the night, they'd call us individually into the little room for interrogation. Interrogating officers could speak English. He called me in one time. When he called me in, he asked me the name of my unit. And I told him, I can't tell you anything but my name, rank, and serial number. So he asked me again, what are you belong to this unit? And I said, I can't tell you anything but my name, rank, and serial number. So he got complimentary. And he said, you men fought a good clean, hard battle this morning. We have respect for you," he said. So, boy, that made me feel pretty good. I felt pretty depressed after being captured like that.
His major concern was after he was captured that he had let his country down. And that always struck me as something with his character that I just couldn't believe. How could you have contributed that much and gone through so much and feel that way?
He was transported a long ways from southern Italy to where he was a prisoner of war.
This interrogating officer said, "You're going to have to carry some of our wounded down since you're going down in the morning." So, like I say, they had those stretchers with blankets and things. So I helped carry this young German officer down, and he'd been shot several times and was under sedation, I guess. But he could speak English. He said, "We are tired of war. 4 years is too much." So I thought by that they were going to give up the next day. They ended up with about 200 of us in this big column walking northward, just down below Pompeii.
They were put on German trains on boxcars, and he was taken clear up to very far northeastern Germany, up above Poland.
For 19 months, Crawford endured the German prison camp.
I was at Stalag 2B at Hammerstein, Germany, and they'd sent someone had sent a telegram stating that I had been awarded the Medal of Honor. I was working on a farm up in northeast Germany, a little farm community called Schulzenhagen. 13 of us lived in a little tiny room, about half this size. One guard. They never had such a thing as an automobile or tractor or any kind of mechanism. They did all their farming with oxen and horses, and I was appointed ox coaching.
When he was young, he decided that he wanted to learn how to box to defend himself. From there, he became a Golden Gloves champ, and that came in handy during one of the occasions when he was a POW. There was one guard always berating the U.S. prisoners. The Nazi guards didn't like him, the prisoners didn't like him, and he was always barking orders. One evening, this Nazi found Bill walking out in the yard, and he went over and told Bill that he needed to go back into his hooch. And Bill refused to go. Well, the Nazi started barking at him like he usually did. Only this time, the Nazi decided he was going to pick a fight with Bill. And he picked a fight with the wrong guy. Because remember, Bill was Golden Gloves champ. And to say the least, Bill turned around and beat the living heck out of this guy.
During the winter months of late 44 and 45, the German army was pretty much getting beat up on all fronts. And they were having to move their prison camp continually because the Russian army was moving in from the east. From December of 44 till they were liberated in April 45, that the prisoners were forced marched like over 500 miles going west to stay away from the Russian army. Germans just didn't have anything to eat hardly. He said that they were basically surviving on about a potato a day. I guess quite a few of the prisoners died if they were wounded and weren't in good physical condition, because it was just so hard, the cold and nothing to eat. And the ones that were not in good physical condition just didn't make it, starved.
Because Crawford was captured and became a POW, immediately after his Medal of Honor action, he never was officially presented the medal by the President of the United States. It was not until 1984, over 40 years after the fact, at the Air Force Academy graduation ceremonies, Bill Crawford received his official recognition. President Ronald Reagan honored Crawford by hanging the Medal of Honor around his neck, a final tribute to an unassuming, all-American hero.
We're graced with the company of a man who believed so much in the values of our nation that he went above and beyond the call of duty in defending them.
For Bill Crawford to be able to stand before President Reagan and receive the Medal of Honor after 45 years is one of the greatest moments in his life.
Crawford worked the rest of his military career as an Army recruiter until his retirement at the rank of Master Sergeant. One of the highlights of his career was in 1958, when he was chosen to be a pallbearer for the unknown soldier. Retired but restless, Crawford took a custodian job at the Air Force Academy in Colorado Springs. He missed being around the young military people, and the cadets filled that void. James Moshgott, a former cadet and now an Air Force colonel, remembers Crawford as a humble hero, a mentor and friend. His silent leadership so inspired Moshgott that he wrote an article describing the impact Crawford had on his cadet life.
I think Bill's presence really in some way made us stop and think about why we were here and what it truly meant to serve and what, in a way, our country may ask from us in the future. Bill gave more than many of us thought we would ever be required to give. After I wrote this, here's a lesson that I learned. Been in the Air Force for 23 years. I've been back here to the Academy probably half a dozen times. I mean, throughout my career, I have thought about Bill quite often. And I thought, I got to go see that guy. I got to go back and let him know that he was somebody that made a difference in my life. And so here we are, and it is a little bit emotional. But, my intent was to write this article and then send him a note and just say, hey, Bill, here's some pictures, here's what's going on today in my life, and you made a difference, so thanks. And sadly, to find out he passed away. And I think the lesson there is, just like so many people have said, don't let the folks that mean something to you get away from you. Let them know what they mean to you when you have the opportunity.
I think he should be remembered as one of America's greatest war heroes. I miss him. I mourn him. I think he should be mourned by everyone in this country that loves freedom and loves this country, because they have a debt to that man. It can never be repaid. Never.